Okay. Now, for real. So, I used my Calibis, Grumper, Gario, Pocus, Size Munch, interesting team. And my first ban was Grumper because I have the guys, Pocus, Banshee, it's Calibis, it's sometimes a bit hard to deal with. And I'm gonna skip through a bit because I know we took a lot of time to decide. But I first picked Calibis because it's kind of a safe pick. I know it might force them into with the wins, but if they do, we have Grumper. And if they choose like Scrunch, I have the Mentals. And if they choose Fires, I don't think they're really good into this, but I can wall them with Size Munch, and I have 4 Earths here. So I feel like this was a very good matchup for me. And in fact, they go ahead with Scrunch and Vola. No, yeah. Yeah, if a full tank Momo double edges mix, okay, that's free. That's interesting. So I obviously pick Pocus because it threatens this heavily. And then, oh, there's a cursor. There's Tsubaki's cursor. We're holding hands. So, and I ban Banshee because Banshee has that air specialist tornadoes. It's very offensive. I don't want that, especially after they banned my Grumper. So I'm like, yeah, I need Banshee gone. And I pick Gario. They pick Koish Momo. I obviously pick Banshee to, more mentals deal with it. And I pick Size Munch and they pick Raiken. So let's get into the game. Let me open if I can see that happening. So, my round 1, I think, so my focus is Dreaded Alarm, offensive. So Beta Burst was definitely choice. I think ignoring this slot would be a mistake, especially because a Beta Burst into Koi, Shrike, or Momo would still be good. And then I could have either Toxic Inked this slot in case they bring out Koish, or I need to take care of round 2. And I usually like to run Strangle, which is what I did. So, they switch Scunch into Raiken. They feather on the Calibis, pretty expected, it's aerobic, it gets the buff. And I did Beta Burst on the Raiken slots and Strangle there. So no matter what they pick, they cannot do a Quetzaleno. So now, I'm not sure if they're gonna swap Raiken or not, but my Calibis cannot do anything, and their Valorant has a Hyper ready, so my thought is I need to eat the Hyper if they target Calibis, so I decide to switch Banshee in, and with Pocus I decide to Gamma Burst the Valorant, since it would have -2 speed def. Like, it's so straightforward, I remember this quite suddenly. And yeah, they definitely take a lot of time to decide. So as I said, I switch out Calibis into Banshee. They use Hyper, but they use it on Pocus, which is actually smart for them, to be honest, because Banshee would not take damage. But here's a Gamma Burst on -2 special defense Valorant and leaves it on 20% plus 2 exhaust. Unfortunately, it stirred my sweatband, but Raiken took 25% from Dreaded Alarm, and this is what they did not expect. They were not expecting Dreaded Alarm, they took 25% health damage for nothing. Now, I had no idea if they were gonna sacrifice Valorant or not, so I thought a Beta Burst would kill it, and it would also prevent a neutral from coming for a synergized Quetzal, so I think Beta Burst into the Valorant slot was the most obvious. Now, if I keep focusing, Raiken is probably gonna kill it, So I had to switch in either into Size Munch or Gario, and because Gario has Autotomy, which gives it 1 evasion, I decided to go with that. So actually I can run this at 2 times speed. Much better. So they bring out Momo, I bring out Gario. It's so fast. They Ketsa the Gario and I beta the Momo. 1 beta takes it to, you know, 35% health. I'm very healthy here. I know I'm not gonna die because my Banshee is not the air specialist squishy stuff. It has good defense DVs and it has double screen, although double screen doesn't really help here. So I decide to just Aqua Stone here and Beta Burst here because nothing wants to switch into a Beta Burst. That's my thing, right? They do undermine the Banshee, considerable damage, and they cancel the Banshee as well, leaving it at 25% health. But that's still enough for me to attack with both Tams and kill. Maybe it's too fast, let me slow it down a bit. And they take out Koish and Skunch. So obviously Banshee is at 25% health, their Koish can Ketsa immediately. So I switch into Size Munch to take that. They perfect jab the Gario. But with Gario what I did, so they Ketsa as expected, I used Flood here. Give them -2 speed. I don't run Tornado, I run Bamboozle, I run the bulky stuff on Banshee. It just draws, you know, when you have like -2 speed on enemies, I feel like that's more useful sometimes. And like now with both of those offensive Tems quite slow, I felt like I could handle the game much better. Yeah, like they rely on speed creep, both Koish, both Skunch. Like I don't want them to kill my Banshee or my Pocus before I can kill Skunch. So now I switch in Calabas into the right slot instead of Gario, and I just Size React because Size Munch is not a win condition for me. And what they do is they Oshi the Size Munch and then Water Cannon it. In fact, and they just kill Size Munch, which for me is fine. It did get some damage out, it's fine. Now I do have both Pocus and Banshee, so I can take one out to kill Skunch. If Skunch switches, Valorant dies, and I still have the other mental up. Yeah, -2 speed is so good. That can change the game. So now with -2 speed Koish, I feel safe that Pocus can attack before Koish can kill it. And on the other slot I have Calabas. And Calabas can Toxic Ink the Koish, so it's definitely a very good matchup for me as a whole. It's only turn 7, but it's kind of already decided, I think, by this time. Yeah, so they go with Ninja Jutsu. It doesn't kill. With -2 speed it still goes first because of all that speed, but that health goes down with the ×4. We just Toxic Ink. Toxic Ink goes before the Koish, which was interesting. But yeah, now Koish is overexerted and the poison will kill it. So it's now just Valorant against the world. And what I decide to do is Beta Burst and strangle the Valorant. So if it kills Banshee, it's strangled, then I can attack next turn with Gario. And if it kills Calabas, Banshee will kill it. Because it has -2 special defense, there was like no... And he decided to go for the Feather Gat on Calabas. I did Beta Burst, and Valorant died. And Koish dies to the point... Well, Koish died to the Strangle there, actually. But it would have died anyway. Yeah, it goes before Koish because Koish lost its synergy. But, it's still, you know... It's faster than it. So then there's my second match into Malphite main. Now Malphite main, we had already seen him play, but they are also already seen me just play last match. So you know, this is where the Club Wars format comes in. Interesting. Okay. And I feel like this game was a bit much more balanced, and I ban Guler outright because there's Naga Ghoul there. So you kind of want to ban one of them if you can't really handle them. And if they ban my Banshee, I have no wind to kill Guler. So I would rather ban Guler than ban Nagais, because let's say Valfi, Calibus, Grumper, they all deal with Nagais. So I feel like that's the right strategy to go with this. Obviously Valash is something that I really hate, but I have to give sometimes. So they go and ban Grumper, you know. These four are weak to electric. I think that's a very solid choice. And I start with Size Munch because I want them to not pick Valash, because I do have 3 Mantles in the back. If they pick Valash, it's gonna be hard for me. And they start with Vola Korsh, which, you know, you can say this is like water cannon into Size Munch. And it's scary. But because I have Water Custodian Nagais, I pick Water Custodian, so Size Munch is not worried about the water here. And I ban Valash because they didn't pick it. And they ban my Valfi. Hi Bithin, thank you so much for organizing the tournament. It was very, very fun. Well, it wasn't as fun as I hoped for me. My team wasn't that good, unfortunately. But it was fun to watch the other matches. So I'm reviewing my match last week on the Club Wars scrims. Yeah, it wasn't the worst. You know, pukey. But I'm gonna play back a bit. Okay, so they pick Momo and Yukama. I pick Poke's Branch. I pick like all the 3 Mentors, and they pick Nagais in the last lot. So as you can see, I have Chamomile on Nagais, and it's basically when I absorb a water cannon, you know, I don't get poisoned. It's very valuable, especially with Water Custodian here. And because I'm well known to play Water Custodian Nagais, it's very likely that they already knew beforehand, and even the Chamomile kind of gives it away. So, but I still didn't want to switch out Nagais turn 1 in case they still go ahead with the water cannon. And with Size Munch protected with Nagais, I think that was a very, very free turn to heat up, and they switch into Nagais. And they Nox Bomb the Nagais. I Beta Burst the Valorant, and I heat up. Which, you know, makes a lot of sense. You know, it's a very free heat up. The Nox Bomb does a bit more than 50% health, which means I have to switch out Nagais, technically. Or, now, this is where I was a bit overthinking it, right? Nagais can just Psy Surge or whatever. But you would think, right? It will most likely Madness buff, because Madness buff is what makes it roll, you know, makes it carry. So if it were to Madness buff, I could attack Valorant. And because Valorant is aerobic and was fast, with the Deceit aura of the enemy Nagais, I would go first with both of my Tems. So I was like, you know, maybe we double Valorant. Once we kill Valorant, it's gonna be much easier. And yeah, that's pretty much what I decided to do. Let's skip forward a bit. So, okay. Sorry, I skipped a bit too much. So, they go Yeah, they go madness buff, and I just one uppercut kills it, and I get a you know, a small damage beta burst on the guys. Yeah, and they take out Momo, you know. It's which I don't know. It's interesting, but I guess this is the best time for Momo. As if there's ever gonna be a better time when I have 3 mentals on my team. So, I don't remember what I did, so I will have to spectate what I did. But obviously Size Munch has to go. Because they either Nagai's Fury or they Size Search here. Size Search would definitely go first. But Size Munch is in huge danger. And Size Munch definitely has to go out. Now, I did strangle actually. Okay, so yeah, I strangled the Nagais, which goes before the switches, because it's 0 prio. They Nagai's Fury. It almost kills my Nagais, but with Double Edge, Stubmaster Momo, they kill the Nagais. And Banshee with just 1 Nagai's Fury, it goes down to 42% health. So that's the Nagai's Fury gone. And luckily, because of my strangle on the enemy Nagais, my Nagais got a move out before it died, and I know that their Nagais cannot do anything this turn. So now, their only option is basically Undermine, but Momo is a fast stem. But with the Seat-Orbs, their speed are reversed, right? So, instead of beta bursting this, I decide maybe I use Bamboozle, because they're gonna undermine the Calabash, and the Calabash is my win condition against Nagais, for example, and even against Koish and against Yukama. So I'm like, I have to keep Calabash alive. So they take out Yukama instead of Nagais. It has Chamomile, so it's the toxic ink kind of fairly well. And I Bamboozle here into the Undermine, and basically I just got 45% damage onto Yukama for a free turn. This was perfect. Yeah, I'm just reviewing my matches, well, because I really love these 2 matches that I had. They were very fun, they were very different. For example, Bamboozle Banshee, you don't often get to see that utility here. So yeah, I'm reviewing it quickly before I do more PvP. So yeah, I think eating that Undermine was definitely game changing, because Calabash is what I need to kill Nemo, the Koish, Rice Farmer, the Yukama, and the guys. And now, obviously toxic inking this slot is always the right choice. No matter what, it's gonna be a water type, it's gonna take 2 times damage from the toxic. And they go ahead and bark and Aquatic Whirlwind on Banshee. Banshee sadly dies. So I just toxic ink and, you know, bring it down to less than 10% health. Now obviously this has Momo has Undermine back up. So the question here is, would you leave a barked Calabash into Undermine when it's your win condition? And I think for obvious reasons, because Yukama is still dead anyways, I thought it would be very dumb for me to keep Calabash in, so I switch out to Size Munch, which is no longer a win condition in my team, and I let it eat an Undermine. It survives with 12% health, but it's enough. The Water Cannon goes into Pocus, but Pocus just kills the Yukama here. Yeah, no, I think every play that I made in this match was definitely correct, cause if I did otherwise, I'm pretty sure I would have lost. So here I know Size Munch is a goner. You know, he's against Nagais. Nagais can have Size Surge, for example. But Momo, already used Undermine. It doesn't have stamina left. So is there a reason not to attack Momo here in this round? So in this round, I think, yeah, I think my strategy was to attack Momo. Oh, the round before. So let me go back instead of Yukama. Okay, yes, because Yukama, if I don't kill Yukama, it's going to live on 8% health. And if it lives on 8% health, it's gonna kill whatever I bring in next, you know? So, they do Size Surge on Pocus, and Pocus dies before it can do anything. But that means Size Munch lives to do a rack. And probably surprising to both of us, Koish dies immediately, and Nagais has pretty much no health whatsoever. But because Size Surge is out as well, now it's basically, I know that he cannot have a 1 prio, so Toxic Ink will definitely outspeed. Now my issue is Momo will double edge the Size Munch. So Size Munch would have died before it can uppercut or anything, right? So I take the ballsy move and okay, sorry. Let's replay it. I start with a Stonewall here. 1 prio Stonewall, buff Calibus up tiny bit. Calibus kills the guys. And they double edge. So now it's 1v1. Me versus Momo. And this is where it gets tricky. Because Momo has very little health. But I have no minus special defense, even though he barked. Because of my Stonewall, Calibus was okay again. And you don't see Stonewall on Size Munch a lot. Usually you run the mech as your 4th slot, but especially against Deceit or Nagais, Stonewall really paid off for me here. And this was a very close 1v1, right? The timer was definitely tricking down. Yeah, the low stamina was a game changing, probably. If it was full stamina, it would have been different. But then again, my team wouldn't be this dead. But yeah, I think the Bamboozle and the Stonewall on Calibus are what kind of made me win the game. And that's why I like not running all offensive temps. That's why I like running Bamboozle on Banshee, I like Stonewall on Size Munch. I like having control and variety for both teams. So, timer continues ticking down. I don't want to skip it, because I don't know. Because, you know, there's not much timer left. So, does Calibus live double edge Undermine is the question. Do you rest with Momo and just Undermine and Bark and Undermine? But they start with double edge. We are at like 63% health and now we're buffed. And with 1 Toxic Ink and the Poison Tick, they take significant damage. So, you know, yeah, the double edge is very questionable because it buffed me. I think Momo should have rested. No. And yeah, actually, they did have Undermine up, but I guess Undermine would have overexerted them. And they exhausted just to willpower drain. They also make me overexert with Calibus. So now we're both overexerted, we both rest. But now we're 50% health. Still. They Undermine. And we live with 10% health. So we finish Momo off. And basically, that's how I won my Club War scrimmages.